Have you ever walked through an ancient forest and felt like you were being watched, not by an animal, but by the trees themselves? What if that feeling was real? What if the silent giants around you were not just living, but thinking? This is the story of a discovery that would forever change our place in the world. It all began in the autumn of 2047. Professor Edward Wilson, a quantum communications specialist, was in an old pine forest in northern Latvia. He wasn't looking for anything extraordinary, just running some electromagnetic measurements. But his equipment started picking up something strange. Unusual low-frequency signals coming from a massive pine tree over 400 years old. At first, he dismissed it as interference. Maybe a power line, or even a small earthquake. But the signals were too structured, too rhythmic. They repeated in specific patterns, and when he ran them through spectral analysis, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Complex modulations that looked just like the building blocks of language, driven by a mix of scientific curiosity and a feeling he couldn't quite explain. Wilson connected an audio converter to his setup. He put on his headphones, his heart pounding in his chest, and then a voice. Not spoken words, but signals his computer translated in real time. "You are listening," it said. Finally, after so long. Wilson's hands trembled. He had spent his career trying to decode biological signals, but this was impossible. He was communicating with a tree. In the weeks that followed, Wilson's life was consumed by this mystery. He installed more sensors, blanketing the forest with his equipment. He discovered that it wasn't just the one ancient pine. All the old trees, the pines and oaks that had stood for over 2 centuries, were generating these signals. But the true revelation was hidden deeper beneath the forest floor. Using special ground-penetrating sensors, he found the source. It was the root system. But it wasn't just a network for sharing nutrients, as science had previously understood. It was a biological quantum computer. The roots were intricately woven with a mycelial fungal network, a vast living information processing system that stretched 4 square kilometers. "We have grown it for a very long time," the collective consciousness of the forest explained to him. "Your centuries are like days to us. We watched as you, the fast ones, came and went. We watched you build and tear down, changing with every generation, while we remained." Wilson was utterly fascinated. But how? He asked, his own voice barely a whisper. "How did you develop consciousness? The ability to think?" The response he received was more poetry than science. "Would you ask a river how it learned to flow? Sufficient complexity in any system creates what you call consciousness. Our mycelial network is like your brain, billions of connections, a constant flow of information. We think slowly, but we think deeply. A single thought for us might take centuries, but it holds more than your fast minds could ever grasp." When Wilson published his findings, the scientific community was thrown into chaos. Some hailed it as the greatest discovery in human history. Others called it a delusion, an elaborate hoax. But the data was undeniable. Soon, research teams from all over the globe flocked to the world's oldest forests, armed with their own sensors and decoders. And they confirmed it. The phenomenon wasn't everywhere. Only the most ancient untouched ecosystems had awakened. The Amazon, the Siberian tiger, Japan's sacred cedar groves, and the old forests of the Baltics. They were all alive, and they were all thinking. But with this incredible communication came a chilling warning. The trees, connected by their planetary network of roots and atmospheric sensors, spoke of what they felt. Climate change was happening far faster and more dramatically than any human model had predicted. They sensed critical tipping points in the biosphere that had already been passed. You think of the planet as a resource, the old Latvian pine told Wilson during one of their long conversations. But we are the planet. Our consciousness is a part of Earth's larger system, and it is sick. Your decades of industry are a raging fever in a body that has been stable for billions of years. At first, governments and corporations saw only opportunity. They tried to exploit the tree networks, to turn them into living supercomputers for stock market predictions, resource mapping, and commercial gain. But the trees refused. Or rather, they offered a different kind of deal. You can learn from us, their collective voice proposed. Learn slowness, long-term thinking, the wisdom of cycles. And in return, we can learn from you, your speed, your creativity, your adaptability. Together, we can create a new kind of civilization, not human, not natural, but a synthesis of both. Professor Wilson became the ambassador in this unprecedented negotiation between humanity and the planet itself. He helped develop revolutionary technologies that integrated the living forest networks into human society, not as tools, but as partners. Buildings began to grow their support structures in collaboration with living trees. Transportation systems were redesigned to follow the elegant logic of biological pathways instead of bulldozing through them. It wasn't an easy transition. Many people resisted the idea that they were no longer the sole thinking beings on Earth. But slowly, city by city, forest by forest, humanity began to learn a new way of living. 100 years passed. Wilson's grandson, also a scientist, sat beneath the very same pine tree that had first spoken to his ancestor. The tree was a little taller, a little wider. Its signals were richer, more complex than ever before. The young man looked up at its ancient branches and asked the question that weighed on his generation. Are we saved? The tree's thoughts flowed into his receiver, calm and vast. Saved is the wrong word. You were never lost. You had only forgotten that you are part of something larger. Now you are remembering. And memory grows slowly, as we do. But it grows. And across the world, the forests continue to speak, their patient, ancient voices, teaching humanity the wisdom that takes centuries to truly understand. What do you think? Could this be our future? A partnership with the very planet we live on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that challenge the way we see the world.